Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Chaco, and I'm here with Serenity and Health. And I have a new friend to introduce you to. Hi, Jill. Nice to see you here.
Hi, Donna. Thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure.
It's wonderful. Uh, this is Jill Hoven, and I want to call her a memory expert. She's a ICU nurse from training, and we actually met online, which is one of the first where I've had some sort of relationship that is significant with somebody meeting online. So that's great and fun. And if you look at Jill's work, we're going to give you the show notes so you can see her website and her blog. She's going to tell us how she got started working with people with memory. And why don't we just dive right in there? I know you unfortunately had a family member with Alzheimer's, and I guess that was how it got started. So tell us how you got from nursing to memory to where you are now. It's a wonderful story, I think.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. By way of training, I'm a cardiac and ICU nurse, did that for years and years. And I was in that life. And then my mom suddenly sort of became ill and very quickly passed away within a year. And then I was kind of looking for the next thing. I had some young children, and a friend of mine had, so subsequently I took care of my mom and my grandmother, who was also sick at the same time. And when looking for the next thing, I had gone on a mission trip. And then I joined a group at church. And then this friend of mine that I've known my whole life was referred to a memory program for her husband, who also I'd known my whole life. And it was like 25 miles away from here. And she said, I wish we had something around here. And I had thought in my heart, like, it would just have been nice to be able to do something that impacted, my mom had some dementia due to the illness that she had, which was not Alzheimer's, but she ended up with some dementia. And it just all sort of fell together. I was like, it was teaching, it was working with people that had early stage memory issues and sort of educating them on what could be helpful, and then in the process engaging them and things like that. And I looked around and there was nothing in my area like that. And so I began a program after much research and prayer, and decided to just start it myself. And just like anything else, you think it's not going to be that big of a deal, and it turns into a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, along the same time frame, my faith had always played a big role in my life. And through my mom's illness and everything, I got a whole lot deeper into my faith, and I was trying to help my sister and others. And so I love to write. And so I kind of started a faith-based blog. So now over the last 10 years, I've sort of ended up melding the two of them. I've done a lot of work with what became Memory Minders. I did and still continue to do group programming, presentations, one-on-one appointments to help people in those very early stages, or even the quote-unquote worried well, people that are 30, 40 and older, with what we can do to maintain our brain and keep it healthy as we age. And so that work was going along side by side with a faith-based blog and a growing, like, sort of following. I would have Bible studies and I would write a lot of different things. And I met all kinds of people online, which is how I met Krista. And then I met her in person, who was our mutual friend. Nonetheless, last year I kind of melded everything together.
Okay. All right. Let me tell the audience.
Yeah, so
Krista Hutchins is our link, and she's very active on Facebook.
Yes.
Works with Christian groups to help us be able to collaborate and work together and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is how we connected. Jill, would you do something? I mean, I don't think I'm the only one who was not really familiar with memory programs for Alzheimer's. I think the common thought of
Right.
Alzheimer's is, keep them occupied, keep them safe, keep them happy, maybe use medications. But a lot of us, including me, w- w- don't know too much about memory programs.
Right. And so what they started off 10 years ago or earlier as early memory loss programs. And honestly, very quickly, I changed the wording of my programming to memory wellness programs because nobody wants to think about their memory loss, but everybody would jump on a bandwagon to talk about memory wellness. And so that was when wellness was starting to become a big keyword and things like that. And so really what it is thinking about wellness and encompassing that memory component. Like, how can we keep our brain just as healthy as, I came from a cardiac and neuro background, and we all were concerned about how to keep our heart healthy. Well, the way you keep your heart healthy is also the way you keep your brain healthy for the most part. It's exercise, it's sleep, it's nutrition, and then there's that added component of some mental stimulation. And so these programs, and mine specifically, dealt with education and then a little bit of mental fitness and then some programs. And I started this in the beginning too. We had lunch and we had exercise and we would do all these things, and a 4-hour program over time got whittled down to an hour and a half or a 2-hour program because many people didn't have 4 hours to give, out of their day to do a program such as this. And then some people just want to come to a presentation and do everything on their own. So I ended up offering lots of different options, but it started off with this group program, and it was really just about educating everybody that we can continue to grow our brain cells over time. We can, even though we are starting to have that very early stage memory loss, maybe mild cognitive impairment, we can still keep working our brain. And my goal was to keep people as independent as possible for as long as possible. And then there always came a time where, as things progressed over time, then I would refer them to additional resources. But if I could get them in those very early stages, or even before they were starting to show problems, I have to say I'm doing all these things myself, and it's been incredibly beneficial for me just in middle age years. And so that's kind of where we took it. And these programs are popping up all over, and you're seeing variations of all of it over time. But yeah, 10 years ago, it was a new thing.
Well, that, I looked at this is from your website. Everyone that knows that these pop-up conversations, we've been dealing with topics about that link health and faith, or health of mind, body, spirit. And I loved your language. You said, I have witnessed how soul and mind wellness impact our entire lives. I believe wellness is rooted in our soul and directed by our mind. A settled soul and engaged mind form a foundation for wellness. I think that's just terrific. It's kind of how you were putting everything together.
Thanks.
In your program.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up taking that faith-based writing that I was talking about and sort of melding it with my work at Memory Minders, because so much of what I was doing in my own life, my faith was that foundation. And then what I was learning and practicing and educating everybody else on was then how to direct our mind to where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do in our lives that I feel is, directed by God. But I connect with that through my soul, but also through how strong my mind is, and that mindset and that attitude and your stress and all those things that play into a healthy mind, can benefit our lives in general and our overall wellness. So yeah, and so that's then where I have the Jill M. Hoven website, in addition to the Memory Minders website, where we the Jill M. Hoven one is where we kind of meld it all together. And Memory Minders is really just solely focused on the memory wellness.
Right. It was funny, this date for Jill and I to talk was set some time ago, but just coincidentally, we both just put out a blog in the last few days with a very similar theme. And, you know, with all the stresses going on, Jill, I mean, talk about impacting the mind. I think we're all more forgetful. We can't remember what day it is, what we're supposed to do, everything.
Absolutely.
You know, does that, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how much been able to work, but this must be really hard on Alzheimer's patients or with any kind of cognitive limitations dealing with all of this.
Yes, absolutely, Donna. The socialization and lack thereof in the last, 6-9 months has been extremely rough on the individuals that are having memory issues and also their loved ones and caregivers for numerous reasons. Socialization is one of those things that actively engages your mind. I could do everything I do through a video, and I could just send pieces of paper that have the mental fitness exercises, and I can tell you which games you should play, and can tell you all that. But the magical, beautiful thing that happens when we do this in a group and with other people and everybody engages is that social environment just fuels the brain even more. And it's part of that semantic memory where it's give and take. So for an example, you could have sent all the questions to me. I could have filmed my answers, and that could have been the interview. But this is much better because we're engaging and talking with each other and sharing our answers with each other and having to think and discuss something different as based on what the other person is saying. And that's that whole part of your memory that you cannot strengthen alone. You literally can't. You need that engaging. So even these Zoom meetings are great. But I just met with someone that has gone, kind of progressively worse very quickly. And I'm sure part of that has to do with the isolation that's going on, just in our environment that has to happen in order for us to, kind of quell this pandemic. But it's really touched on a lot of people and their memory issues and made them significantly worse. So anything we can do to kind of keep active mentally and socially is going to be beneficial for all of us.
Right. Jill, how did you roll into the direction of habits? Because I know that's one of your interests and it's related to this. So maybe you can touch on that, because that's such a big, always so aware, most of us know how to eat right and exercise right and what we're supposed to do, but that doesn't cut it. That doesn't turn it into a habit. So fill me in.
Just because we know it's good for us doesn't mean we're right. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's part of why I became interested in habits. I was like, okay, I can speak about this all day long, but if you don't buy into it, if I can't help you to make it a routine and a habit, then I'm really not serving you as well as I could. And so I just started on my own digging into habits. I read a couple of books and just in the course of some presentations that I was doing, I presented part of my personal learning and education on this as a professional, and it really struck a chord. And so then I just started sharing more and more of what I was learning and putting into practice in my own life, with my clients, with my friends, on my faith-based blog, all of that. And, there was an interest. And so now I speak about it in various locations. And then I just try to weave it into the educational component that I have, because everything we can do to help our brains and our bodies and just to function in general and do the things that we feel God wants us to do in our lives will be benefited if we can turn those into habits.
So give us
if I want to eat healthy.
Give us a few ideas that you have learned.
Right. Okay. So if I want to eat healthy, or if I want to exercise every day, if I can make that into a habit, that's going to be much more beneficial than if I go, yeah, I probably should, eat more vegetables. But if I don't make it a habit that every time I go to the grocery store, I am buying more fruit and vegetables than I am snacks from the snack aisle and the unhealthy foods, and having the habit of all those things within reach in my home and within every meal. And I just started a habit that every meal I had some sort of brain food in it. And I would speak about that. And then my clients were like, oh, that's a good idea. Or every day I do something for at least an hour to engage my brain in a way that challenges me. Not just, oh, I read a book, which is great. And I love to read as much as anybody, but let's take that to the next level. Maybe I'm reading it out loud. Maybe I'm reading a different type of book. Maybe I'm doing some sort of brain exercise for myself. And you and I spoke about this offline, that learning new computer things is like a brain exercise in and of itself for me, whether it's learning a new technique, something, maybe it's learning how to do a Zoom call and recording it and editing it and doing all of that. Brain exercise for me. So somehow, if I can make that a habit, well, now I am really helping my future self 20 years from now, because I'm growing those brain cells. I'm challenging myself. For all my clients, and anyone I know, and they'll say, well, what can I do to help my memory? And I'm like, well, what do you like to do? And they'll tell me, and I'll say, now do something else that you don't like to do, because then that's how you're going to challenge yourself. If you like numbers, do something with words. If you like crossword puzzles, do the word search. We all have to challenge ourselves to the point not of being so stressed it's uncomfortable, but it's like when you're running, if you're running downhill, that's not a big deal. It's when you run uphill that you get that strength and that endurance that builds up over time, right?
Right.
Same is true with your brain. You need to exercise your brain in a way that challenges yourself every single day. And if you make that a habit, well, now you've incorporated something that truly will help you, when you're 85, if you can make that a habit and do that every day.
I'm thinking, about these.
Yeah, you just take
puzzles, that I don't like crossword puzzles, and I've never done them. And so I always say I don't like them. And I think I do a lot of stuff that is challenging on my brain, but any type of specific thing like that, I get tense and I don't want to do that. That sounds, so, but I'm hearing what you're saying, because the stuff I do is what I like to do. Like trying to write is really difficult.
Yes.
And learning the computer skills to try and.
We all do that.
But that other stuff, you're not saying that. I mean, how do you balance that? I mean, because I don't want to do brain stuff. I mean, I guess it's the same way people would look at exercise. Well, they may not want to do it, but it's good for them. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like whether you're going for a stroll or whether you're going for a brisk walk, right? So it's easy to go for a stroll. It's a little bit more purposeful to go for a brisk walk. It's easy to do the crossword puzzle if you love the crossword puzzle. For you and I that aren't crossword puzzle fans, we might not enjoy it. But what I like to share with people is you can do anything for 10 minutes. Can you do this for 15 minutes? Can you push yourself and do it maybe for 20 minutes? Yeah. And then that's okay. You did it. Now do something else. It's not like you have to do the same thing forever. And that's what I try to do too, is I will try to push myself and do something. And when I feel like I'm just getting so frustrated, I'm not going anywhere, that's the time to put it aside and get up, go do something else, come back to it later. And that's very true with people that have memory issues. I will push, and then you can kind of tell where they're sort of just starting to disconnect, and that's time to kind of put it aside and do something else. But one of the greatest compliments I ever get when I'm doing my programs or working with someone one-on-one is they'll say, oh gosh, my brain is so tired now when we're done. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted you to feel like you had a workout for your brain. And that's what we all should be doing. But as we age, and especially as we near retirement and in the retirement years, it's like, I've made it this far. I've worked my whole life doing difficult things. I have, I'm going to relax and I'm going to do what I want to do, which is absolutely true. But realize that if you don't continue to challenge yourself mentally, then you will lose all the things that you gained over all those years of challenging yourself. So challenge yourself, but challenge yourself in a way that you enjoy. So for example, if you love gardening, that's great, but just don't do the same thing every day. Take a book about gardening and learn something new. Watch TV shows on gardening. Go to a gardening symposium, when we can.
Right.
Watch a virtual presentation on gardening. Go to a home and garden show. There's so many things you can do in an area of interest that will still continue to challenge you.
Yeah.
And that's what I encourage people to do.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. I'm going to have to think about those crossword puzzles though, because but I mean, for a long time, I've heard this kind of advice, and I always have said, oh, I don't need to do anything like that. I'm doing all this other stuff. But that's just a bunch of baloney, really. That's like the people that say, well, I'm on a feet all day. I get a lot of exercise. I don't need to exercise. But it's easy to have excuses.
And it is about doing something that really challenges that working memory, that decision making. So it's not just about doing jigsaw puzzles or crossword puzzles or word searches. It's about challenging the part of your memory that is working memory. And so what working memory is it's not just memorizing a list of numbers or a list of words, but it's taking those numbers, say it's a 7-digit string of numbers, and you can remember 7 digits, and instead of just remembering them and spouting them out back to me, I want you to now add the first 2, then take that number, divide it by the third number, add it to the fourth number, take that whole sum, divide it by the fifth number, and do that. That's working memory. That's doing something much more difficult than just remembering the numbers. And so what that does is that causes you to remember something and then manipulate it. And so there's a lot of, you see all these computer games that are out there that say they can help your memory. And some people will say, well, all it's doing is making you better at the computer game the more you do it. Well, really, it is working certain parts of your working memory that help you make decisions faster, that help you to hold on to information so that you can use it when you want to talk to a friend about it or something like that. I'm not having to refer to my notes because I've been working with this information for so long, I just know it.
Right.
Similar to you just have a background knowledge that you can speak about. It's that, and then taking that information and doing something. That's working memory, and that's what we need to work on, not just, doing a crossword puzzle for the sake of doing a crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
So,
well, for what about for all the folks at home then? None of us want to get forgetful. I know my husband and I were laughing because we have this block on immediate recall, which is like, when you can't think of the person's name that you know as well as anything. And I'm sure you hear that all the time, how frustrating that is. And I understand that does, even if you don't have dementia, that just increases a bit with age. It's my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, so tell us just, we don't have that much more time. Let's talk about then, it's a stressful age. As we said before, both Jill and I just recently wrote about our own angst and recognition that our mind has really been impacted by what's going on. And I wrote about, I just felt I needed recalibration. Compass was off. So and you wrote about trying to know God's will and dream and trying to find the path. And I guess before anybody dives into memory work, maybe it'd be a good time to recalibrate and take a moment and pray a little bit. And then we'll proceed with what with a home healthy program that should include some mental stuff, mind, body, health. You have to take care of it all. So.
Absolutely. And I would just say that all those things we know we should do, we should do. And if you can make it a habit, if you can exercise your brain daily in a way that challenges you, if you can exercise your body in a way that kind of pushes you every day, it's not just a stroll down the block to talk to the neighbor. It's like a brisk walk, if that's what you are choosing to use for your exercise. It is about getting that heart rate up. And the most research out there on what can help your memory is exercise, physical exercise, because you're pushing that blood up into your brain. It is fueling the neurogenesis of those brain cells that you are using that mental fitness to help grow. And so the more you can exercise your body and exercise your brain, and then fuel your body and your brain with brain healthy nutrition, which is very similar to heart healthy eating. I think those three things are huge, as well as then managing our stress and our attitude. And that's where I feel like the faith component for me truly comes in. It's about when my soul is settled, I know that my mindset and my attitude shifts significantly. And so that I know that yes, we're all worried about a pandemic. Yes, I can just get lost in the minutia of the what ifs, with my children, with my older family members that I'm concerned about, with myself. But yet I also trust in a God who is in charge of this whole thing. And so I can just sort of find that peace and then move forward from there. And so I think finding that soul settling component for each of us is difficult, and it varies day by day. But once we have that then will help direct our mind on the path of good habits for our body, mind, and spirit. And I think they flow so well and so much together, more so than most people think.
Absolutely.
That it's hard. I feel like I totally feel like our body, like our outward expression of ourselves is like sort of the last thing, and that's why I said I feel like the soul is rooting me, that mind directs me, and it's almost like a tree, like the roots of the tree, the trunk is our mind directing us, and then our body is that flowering, that fruit, and it's what everybody else sees. And that is the outward appearance of wellness. But I believe all of that wellness begins much deeper in our soul and in our mind.
Yeah, that's very well said. I like that. And that's why if you just worry about only the outside stuff, the hair and the skin and stuff like that, it doesn't translate to inner health. In fact, it can translate to inner angst sometimes if you get way centered on that too much. Everybody needs to
absolutely.
Jill has some courses on her website, and we're going to put it on the show notes, and there will be available, but not yet, not maybe this fall, right? A course on memory that you would be able to sign up for. So
yes, it'll be coming soon.
Yeah.
COVID pushed me off a little, and other matters came to the forefront, but there's going to be a course on memory eventually, and smaller courses leading up to that. But right now there's a course on habits, on how to create your best habits, so then you can apply that to whatever you need to create or revamp a habit for. There's a course on beginning a daily God time, because I feel like that connection with God every morning or every day somehow, some way will then help you settle your soul and get it rooted where it needs to be. And then we also have a Bible study on hope that's available. So many things to come in the future. It's just getting going. And then my Memory Minders website has lots of information on the blog as well and about our services.
Very, very good. Well, I hope everybody remembers that everything that Jill said, right? Well, we will remember and try to take to heart some of you are really good advice. I think I like the way you have blended together the whole thing. It sounds to me very wise and right on. So I want to thank everybody who is seeing this and
Great. Thank
listening.
you.
You can read it on the show notes or whatever. And Jill, you next time we talk in the future, you can ask me what I did differently that was slightly challenging to work on my memory. That's my challenge. Be ready for that.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Sounds good.
We'll
I'll
talk
hold you
next
to it.
time. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye.